Hi guys, welcome to a new video. Today it's going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to do a whole lot of work, but what I thought I would talk about is um, how you can find some trees on the cheap. And what I mean by that is, and I kind of mentioned this in one of my other videos when I was working on a tree that came from a cutting or a nursery stock, I guess. Um, these two here, and I'm going to show a few more, but not last fall, but the fall before. So the fall of 23, I happened to be going through a big box store. I think it was a Home Depot, and it might have been Lowe's. I don't remember, but it was one of the two. But they had, their clearance section, and they had a few. I think they were probably a 3-gallon bucket. I'm thinking that's what it was, of Portulacaria, and they were originally, I don't know, 40 bucks, like $39, but they had them all marked down at 50% off. So I ended up getting two of those buckets for 20 bucks a piece. So, I spent 40 bucks, but each of those buckets had probably 4 or 5 um, pretty pretty good sized stalks. As you know, if you've been, if you bought Portulacaria from a nursery, usually they're just straight sticks, just straight up, and there's 4 or 5, 6 of them in a pot. Even when you buy the small ones, there's usually some 4 or 5 cuttings in that small pot. But this was, like I said, a big 3-gallon jug, and I brought those home, repotted them up individually, let some of them just kind of grow. I put some wire on some, but I just want to let you know that, be on the lookout, because you don't have to spend a lot of money to really get started, especially with Portulacaria. Because one thing they do, they grow so fast, and if you can buy them already with some size, like I did these, like I said, these are, I've had them a little over a year now, and they're pretty good sized trunks. Like this one over here, I'll get it closer here in a minute, but this one just kind of leaned over, and I've got just letting these branches grow. This one doesn't look too much different than my largest Portulacaria when it started out, and I'll try to show some pictures of it, but it was just basically about this big, maybe a little bit smaller, kind of leaning over to one side with this first branch kind of drooping down like that. But in this case, I think I'd probably get rid of this and use this one as the first branch. But I'll show you a progression of, I call it my big guy. It's my oldest and most, mature Portulacaria I've got. But just over, 7 or 8 years, that thing has really grown into something that I'm pretty happy with. So again, if you can find them like this, definitely do it, because you can really experiment. And then just with that $40, I can't tell you how many different trees that I've ended up with. I've got several, probably 6 or 8 left, this size over here. And I've sold a couple, just to get other people started in the hobby. And but then when you let these grow out and you take these cuttings off, like here, that's another cutting to start a new tree. So just with that, even if you just bought one of the buckets for 20 bucks, you could pot up the main trunks and then let it grow, and then these cuttings, you have secondary cuttings and trees. So with that one $20 investment, you could end up with 20 trees pretty quick. So just be on the lookout for stuff like that. Like I said, I'm not going to do any pruning on this one today. I'm just going to continue letting it grow, because I want this trunk to get thicker, because I really haven't decided on the style yet. But this will be a repot video later in the spring. So let me set that aside. And then this one here, I've kind of done a little bit to it. It's just going to be pretty much a kind of a formal upright. Kind of bent these because I like to show sign of age. I like the branches to kind of droop down a little bit. So that's kind of what I did with these. Again, not really sure what the front or back or anything is yet. Just kind of letting this one grow and thicken up too, but you can see, you know, compared to my finger, this one's probably a good inch or so diameter. Again, I've had it for a little over a year, and it's done that. So let me show you a couple others I've got. Here's another one that came from that same batch. And initially this, just the way it was in the pot, this trunk was rubbing up against another trunk, so it was kind of rubbed off, and it kind of had inverse taper because it was really thin down there. But just letting this thing grow out, I kind of got rid of that inverse taper, and that roughness just kind of adds character. So it's got a decent trunk on it, and you know, decent shape. Again, not really sure what I'm going to do with it, just letting it grow out. But I'm thinking one option could be is to cut this branch over here off right there, just to give movement in the trunk. And then this could be a new cutting, new tree, all that good stuff. But yeah, and then like these pots here, so kind of get started on the cheap. These pots are just cheap plastic grow pots that I found on Amazon, and if I can, I'll try to link those down below. But you can really get started and have a ton of trees really quick for not much money. So let me show you a couple more that came from the same batch, but I started developing a little more. And here's one. Some of them coming out of the container, they kind of lend themselves to a little more development. So this one already had kind of a decent trunk over here. It had some movement in the trunk, so I put a little wire on it because it was leaning backwards, just to bring it forward a little bit. Let me go ahead and I'll give this one a little prune since it's kind of being developed into this style. Not doing a lot to it. It doesn't. I just pruned this one, I think, a few weeks ago, so it's just grown out a little bit. So nothing major to do on it. But I just thought it was a neat looking little tree. It's got a little ways to go, definitely, but for being in my possession a little over a year, I'm pretty happy with that. So not too shabby. And I've got one more I can show you. And here's another one that had decent shape to it. Kind of a gradual, informal, upright, kind of curvy trunk. And I'll go ahead and prune this guy up a little bit too, since I kind of already have a somewhat shape on it. But again, you know, this is a nice tree to have in a collection. Nice starter tree, and again, a little over a year and in development from that nursery pot container, so not bad. At least you know, get into the hobby cheap and end up with a lot of trees like that. It gives you a lot to experiment with. And I don't know, since I'm in Texas, a little bit warmer climate, I don't know if it's easier to find larger Portulacaria specimens, like, or not specimens, but you know what I mean, nursery stock, than it is up north. So I haven't really been shopping up north anywhere for Portulacaria. So if any of you live up north, let me know if you've been able to find anything like this in nurseries. But but even the smaller containers, you know, if you can't find the big 3-gallon ones, even the gallon or whatever, you can find some decent stuff to start out with there too. But I have noticed over the years, though, even just the last few years, even the nursery stock for Portulacaria's pricing has gone up just a bit. But anyway, those clearance racks are sometimes a fine too, especially Portulacaria, because if they, for some reason don't water them or something, and they start shriveling up and don't look the greatest, they may throw them on a clearance rack, but you can nurse those guys back to health pretty easy. Take them home, get them in the right environment, right soil, nurse them back, and get some cheap plants that way too. But yeah, I think that's really about all the pruning I need to do on this one. Just let it continue to grow out. But not a bad little tree for what I paid for it. So yeah, like this came from one of those jugs at 20 bucks. So if I got 5 of them out of it, maybe that's a $4 cutting there. So not too bad. All right. I think that'll just about do it on that tree too. But that's really all I wanted to talk about, is just kind of be on the lookout, and you can find some decent things to play around with and experiment with. So hope you enjoyed that, and hopefully it was a little helpful. Maybe get you thinking next time you're out wandering through your local garden center or nursery, and maybe pick up some new trees for your collection yourself. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.